Madam President, time and momentum are on our side. So said Xi Jinping to his colleagues in the Chinese Communist Party last year. True, there have been some recent setbacks to China's grand plan, corruption probes, billions of wasted government dollars. But make no mistake, these are minor distractions. You see, the CCP is determined as ever to supplant the United States as the world's leader, militarily and economically, in order to win the 21st century. Xi and his government will subsidize any industry, spend any amount of money, take any means, even propping up manufacturing with slave labor, to bend the market to its ambitions and force America to its knees. The CCP is confident that America is too dysfunctional, that the American people are too divided to arrest its momentum. Well, Madam President, today I'm pleased to report that the CCP has made a serious miscalculation. Allow me to explain. You see, earlier this month I was in West Lafayette on the campus of Purdue University. Indiana's Governor Eric Holcomb and Purdue's President Mitch Daniels were, of course, there, and we were joined by U.S. Secretary of Commerce Gina Raimondo and U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Our group saw up close the amazing work that Purdue's doing across its technology ecosystem. We met and spoke with many talented students and professors, and we had a productive discussion about ways to bolster our national security and economic competitiveness. Not coincidentally, we did this in a hall named for Neil Armstrong. Not coincidentally, because our conversation focused on the CHIPS and Science Act. This is legislation I and others in the Senate worked on for years, that I'm proud was finally signed into law in August. Now, the CHIPS and Science Act will unleash the same enterprising American spirit that sent Neil Armstrong to the moon aboard Apollo 11. The same spirit Beijing believes is a relic of the 20th century. This type of bipartisan economic and national security win only comes along once in a generation. Enacting the CHIPS and Science Act sent a strong message to the world that when it comes to meeting China's challenge, here in the U.S. there is a cross-party consensus and a seriousness of purpose. A thriving domestic chip industry is going to prevent future supply chain stoppages and protect our military readiness. You see, right now, Taiwan produces 90% of all advanced semiconductor chips, and the threat of a communist China takeover of Taiwan is real. Meanwhile, the Chinese government is heavily subsidizing its national security innovation base and the development of mission-critical technologies. In fact, the CCP has invested $14 trillion, $14 trillion in the technologies that will shape our modern economy and decide winners of future wars. Technologies like quantum computing, robotics, and artificial intelligence. Technologies like hypersonics. They've also set a strategy of dominating the global production of semiconductors. If China produces more and more of the world's supply of semiconductors, America's economy and our national security could be at the mercy of the CCP, especially in the event of another pandemic or war. This is all part of Beijing's bet to beat America. But the CHIPS and Science Act helps America counter that bet. And you see, there's a happy coincidence here. What benefits our national security also benefits our economic security, especially across the industrial Midwest, where we pride ourselves on making things like microchips. Just weeks after the Chips and Science Act became law, its benefits began to reverberate across the heartland economy. We've already seen numerous major economic announcements that are directly tied to this bill becoming law. In fact, a corridor of the semiconductor industry will run through the state of Indiana. Thanks to the Chips and Science Act, Skywater Technology is moving forward with its plans to partner with Purdue to build a $1.8 billion facility in West Lafayette. They'll manufacture semiconductor chips and create an estimated 750 direct jobs. And there's more to come. Further, the Chips and Science Act provides $2 billion for the Department of Defense to make semiconductors. Naval Surface Warfare Center Crane Division in southern Indiana, with its expertise in chip manufacturing, is expected to play a significant role in this effort, in turn creating economic opportunities across the southern part of our state. The regional tech hubs authorized by the Chips and Science Act will launch innovative companies, help revive American manufacturing, and lay the foundation for new, good-paying jobs to jumpstart our local communities. For too long, our coastal states have been the near-exclusive hotbeds of venture capital investment and launching pads for tech startups. Only a handful of American cities account for nearly 90% of job growth when it comes to advanced sectors like tech, computer manufacturing, biotech, and telecom. But the Chips and Science Act plants the seed corns to ensure that opportunity for investors, entrepreneurs, and researchers spreads across the industrial Midwest and other areas around the country. It will broaden and deepen our startup and tech economy. As a result, everyone will win, and our national defense will be safeguarded. Our position as a leader in the development of future technologies will be secure. Our ability to win the contests ahead, economically and, God forbid, militarily, will also be secured. And there will be numerous residual benefits to this law in the years to come, such as American labor providing the manpower needed to construct new fabs and facilities here in the United States. In closing, let me reiterate that the Chips and Science Act will be a boost to our domestic economy, but it's not just about our economy. It will strengthen our national defense by allowing us to have the most sophisticated weapon systems and by ensuring their critical components are made in the USA. But it's not just about national defense either. You see, this is about deciding which values are going to animate these technologies in the future. The values on display from a communist party when it cracks down on protesters in the streets of Hong Kong, the values that enslave millions of Uyghurs in Xinjiang or threaten Taiwan. The world's autocrats are attempting to exert their influence across the globe. They argue that the American system, with our pesky system of checks and balances, our very ideal of government of the people, by the people, for the people, they argue that can't work in the 21st century. But the signing of the Chips and Science Act proved them wrong. When it comes to out-innovating China and authoring a second American century, I'm confident that in the days ahead, both time and momentum will be on America's side.